Your first All-Ireland as a starter, how sweet was that for you?
Very sweet, Shane. I suppose 2016 obviously was brilliant too to get the first All-Ireland medal, but it's a bit more special when you're starting, and I suppose it took a lot of hard work to get there, and yeah, just persisted with it when maybe I felt at times I might have kind of just said pack it in and go kind of thing, you know.
Would it really get that far for you? Because like if you look at 2016, you started the semi-final and Bubbles ended up starting the final instead. That must have been tough to take.
I know, like I suppose I didn't really perform the way I would have wanted in the semi-final. I had a couple of chances and missed them, but I suppose really after that 2017 I got a bad ankle injury against Westmeath, and then 2018 the kind of year was rolled off. I got done my shoulder and kind of punctured the lung, so that was more the hardest thing to take. I don't mind not playing because sometimes you might not be up to the form to be playing, but there's nothing worse when you don't really have the chance down to injury, if you'd get me. So I suppose from that point of view, last year now I found at the end of 2018 I was really mentally struggling after the injuries, to be honest.
Which was worse? Was that punctured lung? Sounds like it would be awful.
Yeah, I was in Kilruane Hospital for 3 or 4 days actually. Yeah, I'll never forget, because I did a lot of contemplating down there, and I said I'll try my best to get back. And in fairness to Brendan Murphy and Paddy, they were very supportive, and Mick Ryan was as well. So that put me at ease. But I guess it's just you're trying to always, you know, like for me, I'm always on and off the team, so I was just kind of making a push to get on it. When that happens, then you're losing ground and everybody else.
How did that happen?
Playing Dublin in a practice game, and I hand passed the ball, and before I knew it I was nailed.
You going to name names?
No, look, these things happen I guess, and I just remember the blood rolling down my mouth. I kind of knew I was in trouble, to be honest.
So tell me about like sitting at, what are you thinking? You're 25 years of age at that stage, I suppose, and you're fully on thinking. Yeah,
I suppose you're trying. Yeah, I don't know what you say. I suppose I've had a good few injuries. A lot of people would know that, and just kind of more niggles, but they always seem to come at the wrong time. And like I wouldn't say it's down to I look after myself, like food wise, gym wise, all that kind of stuff. So it was just more, because people call it misfortune. I know there's other lads might feel the same, that pick up different injuries at different times. So I can relate to them, but it's just more it's kind of thinking, am I ever going to get a break? And thankfully this year obviously I did. Yeah,
because you started the season really well. I would have said on record many times that you were man of the match against Cork up until the point that you had to go off.
Yeah.
But then was it a hamstring injury at that point?
Yeah, just got a little cramp in my hamstring, basically tightened up. And obviously missed the Waterford game, and was back in the aim to start against Clare, and myself and Brendan went up for high ball, and we actually landed weirdly enough tangle of legs. So when I went to get up, the same hamstring just twinged again, so I kind of missed the rest of the Munster Championship. And I suppose coming into the Laois game I had a bit of form, and thankfully I got the nod again.
And were you thinking again, here it is once more, I'm flying, and all of a sudden another niggle or what happened? Yeah,
but I suppose this time, Liam gave me great confidence. He said, look, we're going to need you. So he's like, we're through with the All-Ireland series. This was after the third game. He's like, no matter what happens in Munster. So I kind of knew that I'd be needed at some stage, and unfortunately, like when Bonner obviously done his cruise shit, space opened up for me again, and I'd be brilliant friends with Bonner, and the support he gave the group there and that before the All-Ireland final was outrageous, because obviously he's played against Kilkenny, he plays a similar role to me, so I would have great chats with him.
And talk about the goal as well, the ball even coming to you, what are your memories of it?
Joe, I watched it back now last week. I was kind of between a 20s match and a bit of celebrating. I really wasn't too in tune with it, but in fairness, like Paulie obviously made the catch off Walter, and I think I just remember he was swapped wings in front of me just before that, so obviously the management had seen that he made a great catch, and Seamus played the ball in. Conor Forey kind of stepped me. I was kind of more trying to break the ball than anything, and it broke, and I just flicked it back to Jason. In fairness, he popped the ball straight back to me, and the kind of space was there. And like as I said to a few lads before, that tip are good, you know, when the goal chance is on, try and go for it. So that was kind of in my mind. And when the shot was on, I suppose, as Darren Gleeson said, it was all last week, like you know, Owen Murphy's a brilliant goalie, so if you're going to shoot, go low at least. So that was in my mind, and I hit the ball fairly well and bounced. I think could have bounced 10 yards from the goals, but it just bounced well, like, you know.
What was the feeling?
The feeling was unreal, I suppose, just running back out, because I knew we kind of needed a kick of life, I suppose that's what you want to call it. But you'd always be thinking to yourself, well, we've got the goal, let's try and get the next score. So I was kind of just trying to get back out to centre forward position and get going again. Yeah,
because you grow up like out in the field in Kilruane thinking of doing something like that.
Yeah, like, you know what, with a lot, obviously Mark Leary 2001 was one of my heroes. He got 2-1 in an All-Ireland final, and then of course my brother Brian and Seamus Hensley were on it in 2010 and when they won it. And I suppose, yeah, you kind of just, when you're playing around lads that are doing it at the top level, it kind of gives you a bit of encouragement yourself that, you know, obviously I can do it too, because put in, as you said, the hours of practice out in Clock or our Crony, wherever it was, and then so when you have Eamon O'Shea coached me for a full year now, really, between Kilruane last year and Tip and back with Kilruane again, so he'd give you great confidence too.
You talked about 2016, of course, winning an All-Ireland, and even though you did it off the bench, that was great. 2019, obviously brilliant. What happened in 2017 and 2018?
2017, I suppose with Galway could have just went either way. Like, we lost to Cork. Now that Cork team won 2 Munster finals in a row, so it was no mean feat for them. They're obviously a decent side. Should have been an All-Ireland final last year, you could argue. So yeah, 2017 then we got back on the horse, got into the semi-final against Galway, and that game could have went either way. I think it was the same between us and Galway for 3 years. 1 point. Like, they're the harder games because you look back on everything you might have done minimally wrong, I guess. But Joe Canning's point, I actually had the chance to block him, and I turned around just as he hit it and sailed over the bar, and you're kind of saying, that's, when I looked at the clock, I was like, that's it, done and dusted. I knew we were kind of, the game was over at that stage. And in 2018, we kind of struggled all throughout 2018. Like, we got to the league final, we lost that obviously, we didn't perform well, but so we went up to Limerick, first round championship. I suppose we got hit hard. They obviously ended up winning the final, but they hit us with an intensity that day that I hadn't seen now in Limerick in my time with Tip. And then after that we picked up obviously Shane. He's come back from injuries. Just, you know, we had a lot of injuries, and I suppose we just never got a flow.
And can I ask you? I asked Michael Ryan recently about bringing in Bressie, and he was saying that he was told about this guy Niall Bresnan and his qualifications or whatever, and when he showed up he said he saw this lad 6'4", and he hadn't realised it was a pop star, we'll call him, coming into it. Did you know who he was as soon as you saw?
I did actually, and I was unsure what to make because I didn't know who he had been with or whatever. I guess like sports psychology, I guess it's something different for everybody, and I suppose what Bressie brought was in line with what Jerry Hussey and the lads were doing. So look, it had its effects, and obviously like he's going to have a great career. But I suppose at the time when we lost the first game, I think it's more an actual win on the field is worth 50 sports psychology meetings. That's what I want to say. And I think, in fairness, the ship was sinking there. After Cork and we were 10 points down at half time, I don't think, as I said, I think it was more about getting the performance on the field, and now obviously the lads were doing everything they could to get it done off the field. But yeah, I suppose when Bressie coming in, everyone was open to it because I suppose with his background and that, he definitely has done a lot. So yeah, it was different, but it was, you know, it was interesting too.
It seemed like it was because the idea of pop star joins Tip hurling team, it kind of, when the team wasn't going well, it seemed almost like a stick to beat the team with that.
Yeah, now you said it, like I suppose everyone will have their opinion. And I suppose the people that are more old-fashioned would say sports psychology, do you know, what does it mean? If you're hurling well, you don't have to worry about that. But you know the way things are gone with pressure of life, like we're obviously amateur hurlers who are like putting in all our time. So as you say, it's an easy one to jump on, I suppose. Yeah, look, Bressie's in a load of crap, do you know, he's a sports singer or whatever, or singer, has important background in rugby. Like I suppose people, as you say, can't really pick on that. If Tip had to win an All-Ireland, they'd be saying it's the best thing of all time.
And do you find that there's a huge amount of pressure on the Tip hurlers and the scrutiny? Is that something you've felt?
I would have. Now this year, like similar to Paul, I would have kind of got rid of all social media. I'm not on Instagram or anything like that. But Twitter-wise now, would have deactivated the account, would have stopped reading papers and that, because I felt like, you know, before the Munster final, we were the best thing since sliced pan, and after that again, these lads could be finished again, you know. And I suppose look, that's just, people are fickle, I suppose. One day you're the best, the next day you're the worst, and like I suppose that's the way it's going to be. But in terms of Tip fans, the expectations are so high, I guess, that they want to be winning All-Irelands every year, like every other county. But I suppose we got great support towards the end. Like I remember the few roars against Wexford when we were getting back into it. It was really like lifting. So yeah, it's nice to, I suppose, get the support behind you. But as I said, I always do feel under pressure. Yeah. Yeah.
When you talk about that Wexford game, is that the moment that made this team? To win with 14 men, like it was something else.
Yeah, look, it was a weird game, I suppose, because, you know, obviously with the 3 goals disallowed and other things, and there was the Hawkeye moments. It was just a crazy game, and I think that's what makes the win so much better, because we kept composed throughout all that madness, like, and like I suppose you had to score. Some of the scores got near the end were just a sign of a team that had been, I suppose, working on giving the ball to the right man all the time. That came to the fore. So yeah, it was a huge moment. I remember being up, like I was taking off after I can't remember 55 minutes or whatever, but I remember being up and I poked every ball with the lads, and it's so much easier on the sideline. You're like, there's the lad 20 yards on his own, give it. And I suppose when you're on the field and you realise, hold on, there's 2 or 3 lads running after him, the crowd are roaring, it's like a beehive on the field. So yeah, but I thought that last 15 minutes was unreal out Tip.
And like John McGrath getting sent off, I suppose he, like, to be fair, it probably was 2 yellow. Well, we didn't see what the first one was for, but the second one probably was a yellow card.
Yeah, the first one, it happened down in the corner. Just remember, it was just a bit niggling, and I suppose if you're going to let that go all the time, everyone's going to do it. So you give 2 yellows, and I suppose, look, you know yourself, when he hit the deck, he was kind of like trying to like obviously get the ball. It's a bit of frustration, a bit of everything, but I suppose people are saying it galvanised Tip, and it did to a certain extent, but I just think we kind of upped the levels more than anything. It wasn't, like, in fairness to John, obviously might give us a bit of a kick again, but I think we just actually started hurling more composed, like. And then with Wexford, you know yourself, like, I marked Rowan and Maher and Barry Heffernan in training, like, as good as Wexford did in the air, you don't want to be hitting high balls on them, like.
Yeah, because like, when you fast forward then onto the final, what about the day or even the final whistle, or is there anything that sticks out about that day?
I think I've never felt as relaxed in the dressing room I like before a big game. And, like, I remember just thinking, looking around, and I was kind of saying, like, the work in training has been really good the previous 2 weeks. You know, like, lads were flying around, even speed wise. We had a speed session the week before, and I thought lads were really, like, buzzing. So I remember walking around the parade and just felt relaxed. And I know, even though we were struggling for the first 25-30 minutes, I kind of thought we were just kind of waiting to click, like. And don't get me wrong, Kilkenny are a brilliant team, but I just felt that there was, similar to the Wexford game, I felt like we were just waiting to open up and get the moment. But one moment that really sticks out to me is kind of like we were shaking hands with the president. We turned around to go. I just remember, I think it was Brendan said, just focus now, lads, this is it, you know. And we always said, use the parade as a moment to get yourself back grounded, like.
A trigger.
So, yeah, trigger, yeah, that was kind of the word, yeah, trigger to get yourself grounded. The game is just about to start.
And did you think Richie Hogan, did you think that was a red card?
Personally, I couldn't believe it was a red card on the field because I didn't see it. But afterward, I still wasn't sure, because I can see what happens. He went to kind of go in and tackle Barrett, and if he didn't make any contact, the crowd would have probably went, oh, like, you know, like, as in a gesture of he skinned him, kind of. But I think it was just more of, I want to get some contact on him, like, you know, and like, at the end of the day, he caught his chin. And under the new rules, the rules are so strict. I've seen red cards for less, like, you know, so it's hard to know, really.
Yeah, I would have felt that he didn't go out to do him, but the arm did catch the place that warrants a red card.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even if his arm had to come out even, I don't think it would have been a red card. It was the fact it was just the elbow. Do you know what I mean? Like, so. And
then, can you talk to me about that moment when you heard that Liam Sheedy had been announced as the manager?
Yeah, I just remember, I actually remember I was in UL out in the AstroTurf the same night, the field's only after round up, and I remember I got a phone call, and I had Liam Sheedy's number from a couple of years previous in my phone, so I was like, obviously I knew he'd been named manager, so I said, okay, here we go. And I kind of rang me, a good talk on the phone. I kind of had a bit of a hernia from last year, and he said, look, he said, we'll do everything to get you right, we just want to see what you have to offer, but all I can remember is positivity. It wasn't like, oh, this is the end of the world, you're injured. It was just more like, get yourself right, when you get back on the field, give it a go. And I think most lads felt that, and we met the lads actually here in the Abbey Court then at the start of the year for a one-on-one meeting. I think it just set the tone unbelievably well. Lay down certain expectations for you and what they wanted the whole panel to do, like, in terms of discipline on and off the field and whatever else. So I think he really laid down a strong marker, and it kind of stood to us for the year. And
did you feel you were being asked to do something that you mightn't have been doing in the past?
No, I was kind of more saying, like, he would have said to me, you know, you're on the panel for a while, like, you're on and off the team, like, do you know, what would be your feelings on? And I said, I think I'd be more suited to playing out the field. You know, I had been in the corner, but I think corner forward is a very specific position. I think some lads are born for it, and other lads maybe, like, you're kind of moulded into a corner forward. Like,
and so you play centre back at the club.
Yeah, so it's a big difference, but, like, I'm just happy to play for Tip anywhere, you know. But I thought when I got out in the field and won the league games against Cork, I was just delighted. I kind of stayed there after that.
And talk to me about the influence that Eamon O'Shea would have on you, because you hear all about this free-flowing movement, interchange and all that kind of stuff, but like, that's very general terms. But what would he say to you? And you had him with Kilruane last year as well.
Like, I suppose it's just terms of, you have to be comfortable to play anywhere in the forward line. And he was like, you can't be saying, you might end up 11, you might be 12, 10, 13, 14 at any given stage, he said, but you can do damage from anywhere. I think that's a huge confidence boost anywhere. You know that no matter where you are in the forward line, he expects you to do something. And then I think in terms of, like, it's just trust the other guy. Like, if he makes a run, he's leaving you space, go for it. I think that takes trust, because you don't know why the game, some game has are so rigid, you need to have 3 inside, 3 outside. He's just a believer in that you're playing the game, you're the one on the field, go for it. And he'd often say, like, if you see a gap, even when you get the ball, if you see a gap, go for it, because, like, at the end of the day, you might get fouled, but he'll never give out you for trying to do the right thing. I think that's a big confidence booster. But yeah, in terms of movement, like, you have to watch the training. It's more kind of running diagonal lines, switching the ball. If you don't get the first ball, you change and run for the second ball, and that kind of all feeds in. Then on the field, you're doing it automatically, and it just makes a huge difference.
I remember when you were initially breaking onto the team, I'd been asking Paddy about, you know, who's going to be starting the team, etc., etc. And he kept referring to you as Bill O'Meara. So I was writing for the Star at the time, and I typed in the name of the team, and on the back of the paper I had Bill O'Meara makes his debut. Obviously your name is Niall, but where did Bill come from?
Oh look, I suppose firstly it's a weird one because I would have had a grand uncle called Billy.
Right.
And my brothers used to slag me like, because I used to call me the winger Billy basically. And then another thing was I liked Lord of the Rings and there's character Bilbo Baggins and stuff. So there was 2 or 3 different ways I started getting called Bill, and then it just stuck really. I don't know, like Boogie, obviously Brian is nicknamed Boogie because he used to love dancing. And we called Mark Barrett after The Simpsons. So like, I don't know, it just, we were kind of, there's a lot of nicknames in Kilruane, but we would have been knocked originally. So it just stuck, it just really stuck. And then one day in college, one lad comes up to me and goes, do you know Bill O'Meara? And I said, actually, weirdly enough, I'm actually him. And he's like, he looked at me as if I had 2 heads and said, you're fair weird. Do you know? And I said, Niall and Bill are the same person. He just goes, how is that possible? Like, I just remember laughing about myself, being like, I know, it's stupid really.
And like you mentioned a couple of your other brothers there. You've one brother who, Paul, sadly passed away, is it about 15 years ago now at this point? Yeah, it's like... Can you tell me about that time, because it was a very tough period that he took?
Yeah, I spoke about it on Aaron Layem there, 2017 with Conor Whelan. I guess it never gets easy. You know yourself, obviously, with your own situation with Amanda, that you'd see the pictures in the house, and then often you nearly say to yourself, I've been so busy, I haven't spared a thought for Paul or whatever. And I guess that when it happened, obviously it was deep shock. Another like a friend of Paul's that committed suicide a month before that, so obviously it might have been linked, both of them were very good friends in that, so it was very hard to take. And I just remember my mother, mother is more than that, and like sure there, I suppose, with the kids, like, and I never forget she was more than us, I suppose, that she was so heartbroken. And obviously we moved village because of it. Actually we moved to Kilruane really because of that, so it was a turning point in my life in many ways that I guess it was a very sad time for us. But then when we moved to Arcona, we got a new lease of life again, because I wouldn't have liked, along with my man, I wouldn't like to have stayed in the house, with everything that went with it. So I think it was a good move of my parents at the time with everything that had happened, like, and fair play to them. And
you were 11 at the time.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything in the lead up to that? And you mentioned his friend who passed away also, or is it all a blur?
Yeah, it's all a bit of a blur. Like, I suppose you kind of just, I never say, I wouldn't have known. I was maybe too young to know that he might have been, I suppose, a bit upset or whatever you want to call it. But I just remember the more afterwards, I'll never get support I got from my friends. Like, their parents used to come down to the house and collect me on a Saturday and bring me off swimming or golfing or something. And that stood me more than anything, because I had obviously friends in Carrie Nash School, but the support I got from them and their family, I'll never forget it. I'd say for 3 or 4 months after, I was never stuck for somewhere to go really, and it was a great lift in terms of that. And we were playing with Shannon Rovers at the time actually, and Joe Hannigan would have been there, and Joe was always picking us up to go to the game. So yeah, Shane, to be honest with you, I more remember what happened after than before, to be honest with you. And I remember doing the Rainbows program in school, which was very helpful as well. Like Seamus Hensey often talked about he done it, and I remember doing it as well, and it was just a massive lift.
And how much of a time difference was between him losing his mother in similar circumstances?
Yeah, I wouldn't actually know the exact dates, but from talking to Fez about it, we talked about the Rainbow program and that, and we just remember saying it took a long time to. You nearly always feel a bit of a void, really.
Yeah.
And I suppose when you're that age, it takes a long time to come to terms with it, because does it mean as much when you're living as it does when you're older? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, because I'd ask you a question from a personal point of view, having lost my sister a few months ago. In terms of the impact it has on you, how much it changes you, like in terms of the grief, how do you even deal with the grief?
Yeah, I actually call down to the graveyard, I'd say once every 7 to 8 weeks, and I just go down and never really tell anybody I'm going actually. I just go down, and obviously there's a picture of him on the gravestone and that, and I just take time, I suppose, and just like weirdly enough you think you're talking to him, do you get me, in your own head, and I kind of head off again. And I suppose that's usually my thing, that's what I try to do. And I suppose I know different to yourself, when you kind of see the pictures and all that, you kind of think about the good times as well, because I'm a big lyrical fan from Paul, like, and everything else, so he used to take me up playing soccer in the field and all that, so they're the good times. And then obviously there was other moments too, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, you were young at a different age, I'm well into my 30s when it happens, and it's something where I struggle to even talk about it at all. Is that something that it took a period of time for you before you could?
Yeah, definitely. Look, no different in yourself, I suppose. Sometimes you nearly feel emotional speaking about it, you know. But I spoke about, and like I spoke about it a few times already now, and I suppose I'm kind of more confident speaking about it. So I guess like it's hard to discuss it, I suppose, because obviously they've changed now. It's actually, to call it, I think, they died by suicide. It used to be committed suicide, so now they're after changing the phrase now, which is good. And a friend of mine now, like Mikey Breen, two of his friends passed away up in Ballina recently, so like I know what they're probably going through, and it's never, like, you know, it's never easy, because you're always, no matter what happens, like, we got left to know, but you're always looking for answers really afterward, you know.
Yeah. And like, is it something you came to terms with, even that note, and accepting how it happened?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I would have asked my mum questions as I got older, like, was he upset, and she was like, maybe he was, but like, she goes, he never would have given that outward impression to us, like, you know. So fair play to him, like, I suppose, for having that kind of brave front in front of my mother, I guess. But yeah, it was never really easy. And in fairness, my granny, like, actually, he was kind of even my granny for a lot of his younger years, and sure, she, like, every time I go in, she'd always talk about him in a fond way, which is brilliant, because I said she would have seen more than I am. Like, my grandfather used to leave a fiver for him on the table every morning when he left, so even things like that would kind of make you, like, you know, smile about it, you know. So yeah,
there was no small money back then.
No, it wasn't, no. So it was brilliant, yeah.
And like, so let's say, and I mentioned Amanda passed away in May, and I think to some part of the coping mechanism, if you could call it that, or what you automatically, or I found it done, is you almost shut down emotionally, because it's almost too painful to engage with it. Do you find, and like that would also alter who you're being compared with how you were beforehand, do you find that you were a different person beforehand, or you were so young at the time that it's hard to know? Yeah,
possibly, Shane. And look, I suppose I suppose I'd be very like that now. I'd be emotional, I wouldn't be too outspoken or anything like that. But in 2011, I just remember another friend of mine in the village died by suicide, and I was over in San Francisco at the time. I was after doing my leaving cert and kind of felt sorry for myself that I didn't get the results I wanted. And I came home then, and obviously, I suppose, as I said, you wouldn't be too outspoken, but I remember for a while after it, I would go to a stage where I'd go to train, and if things weren't working out, I'd actually flip. I could end up like lettering one of my teammates just for no reason. And then I started to realise, if I stay doing this, like, I'm only burying myself with the lads, like, whereas I kind of got to a stage where we all started talking about different things, and I think it really helped my whole age group. We were all 19, 20 at that stage, 18, 19, about to start college. I remember, like, after PJ passed away, it was kind of like we all started talking more about how we felt, even about women, about girlfriends, because you know yourself, lad could break up with a girl and be a totally different guy, similar to maybe, like, you know, losing a family member or whatever. So I think as a group, like for myself, maybe Thomas Cleary, Justin Cattle, all my age group, we totally got closer after that in terms of what we talk about. And
did you kind of have a discussion whereby you said, we need to start doing this, or did it naturally happen?
It just naturally happened. Yeah. Naturally happened. Like, even 26 years of age now, I obviously wouldn't meet the club lads as much as I'd like to with being involved with tips, so we often go for food, even won't be once every 3 weeks, but we go away on a Sunday after a match or a Friday, we sit down, we have crack and whatever else, but then lads might open up and talk about something else. So I really think that kind of, like, I know this sounds crazy, but you never want to show a weakness on a tip panel. Do you know, like, I wouldn't like to obviously be going in and giving my emotional story to one of the lads I'm hurling with, because they're looking to you for leadership and different things, so that would never be kind of something you consider doing, if you get me.
Okay. And I just, seeing as you did reactivate your Twitter, I had a little look, and there was a tweet you had in January 2018 about your grandfather who passed away, and you said, during the last 2 days we were overwhelmed by the compliments passed about our grandfather. It made us all feel so much better. I hope people realise the effect of a positive comment, and let's hope we use a lot more of them in 2018, #RIP. Is that something loaded with your experiences from the past?
Yeah, 100%. You know yourself, like, I suppose when my grandfather died, obviously he was older and it's easier to accept. You know, so I guess I remember people saying he was a great hurler man. There were so many stories, and they were saying so many nice things about him. And I remember, like, my grandmother smiling listening to all this, like when her obviously the love of her life had passed away, and she's smiling because so much fondness. And I think that whole couple of days was so positive for us as a family. Like, I think it made it a lot easier to deal with. I'm sure you would have the same with Amanda. People would have been saying, you know, with the match, he obviously organised everything. People would have been saying how positive it was, and brought everyone together, and might make it easier for yourselves. So I guess, yeah, the positivity we got from them a couple of days made me realise that to respond, and like obviously they helped us, they lifted us so much, because it was around Christmas time as well. It was December 28th, so it's obviously family time. So yeah, I really remember that, and I posted a picture actually outside the doors at the court at my brother's wedding as well. So yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, just in terms of lift we got with it.
So you're a primary teacher and have been for a number of years. When I talk to other teachers, they talk about maybe that kids these days don't have the same resilience of kids in the past, that maybe there's an element of mollycoddling, then there's problems with like being on their phones and technology, and did I get enough likes on whatever. Is that something that you see as a real issue through your experience?
Well, I suppose I'm in an all boys school, like, and I know this sounds, it's not stereotypical, but for some reason it's very easy to solve a problem between two lads, because they're so open and honest to tell you he did this, he did that, and then we try and obviously solve the problem. Very good school up in Newport there in the boys school. So I kind of found that it's kind of like we try to squash it on the head. Like, the school is very much confront a problem, let's solve it so it doesn't drag on. So I think, like, in terms of my experience, no, I wouldn't have seen that as much, but I would see the whole idea of they get bored a lot quicker, and then obviously boredom can lead to, I suppose, thinking, and then you might think, I'm not good enough of this, I'm not good enough of that. And I always try and promote that. Like, I always say to lads, I might be good at hurling, but I can't sing, I can't play the guitar, I can't do this. So like, I'm trying to let them know that you're not going to be good at everything, you know, in terms of your strengths might lie in different areas. So from that's what I try and share with them. But I suppose the way things are going, you kind of hope that maybe phones that won't play as big as a role as they look to be playing.
What do you do when you're not hurling?
Play a bit of golf.
Yeah.
I do a lot of reading.
Well, that begs the question, what's your favourite book?
Put me on the spot now.
Anne and Barry.
All Black's Legacy, I really like that one.
Yeah.
And I read a fantasy thriller about drugs in New York. It was very good, by Don Winston. And I really like that one as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And golf, what do you play off?
I'm off 9 now, thankfully. Yeah. I was off 6 when I was younger, but I need all the shots I can get.
Yeah, you must be trying to win a few tournaments.
No, I'm not. I just don't want. I've got a tournament stage where I play with lads off 18 and they're better than me.
Right.
So that gets frustrating. Yeah.